Hi everybody, I hope that you're well. Um, I had this idyllic idea that I would record this podcast in the sunshine um, in a park local to me, and then I realised I'm in London and it's not as idyllic as it first seems. The tree that you sit against might smell of dog piss or human piss, and um, there's construction work and there are people everywhere, but I had this idyllic idea and I'm going to see it through. So excuse me if you hear some planes going overhead. I hope that those people are jetting off somewhere nice and haven't had to deal with too many delays at Heathrow. So today's podcast episode is slightly different because I wasn't actually going to record a podcast this week. Quite simply because I've been feeling really shit. And a friend suggested to me that that might be the perfect time to record a podcast because it's just one of the realities of life. And when you are trying to create an amazing life, I think we have this illusion that we can't ever feel crap, we can't ever have a bad day or a bad week or a bad few weeks or a bad year. You have to be this perfect vision of smiley loveliness all the time, and that's not true because that's not the human reality. Um, whilst it is important to stay positive, to keep a raised vibration and a high frequency, whilst all of that is important, it's also important to acknowledge that we are humans with human emotions. We haven't quite transcended just yet. So here I am today, off the back of a really low week for me, and I've spent much of the week lying on the sofa. I've spent some of the week journaling and reflecting and maybe trying to spend too much time figuring out why. Or one of the bonuses is you get little cute dogs everywhere. So the London dogs making the most of the little green space they have. So here I am being completely real and honest with you that even though we are trying to create this amazing life, and I hope to be at the forefront, cheering you on, even we're allowed to have a bad day or a bad week, and I think the most important thing is to give ourselves compassion throughout that. So what have I been feeling this week? It has been, the word hopeless has come to mind a lot, feeling hopeless about certain situations I'm going through, I'm kind of facing, trying to make some decisions. And how the ego works is the ego's a problem solver. The ego's there to keep us safe. The ego wants to the ego's the chattering mind. The ego is the thing that's telling you that you can't do that, is the thing running your life through fear. And so my ego spent a lot of time this week trying to figure stuff out, but it's very cleverly disguised because I don't necessarily always see it as the ego or kind of relate to it, because I am aware of a lot of my ego's chatter and what it's trying to do. Because the ego can be very sly, it can be very sneaky, and it can disguise itself as this, giving a more spiritual reason for something or a higher reason, when in reality it's just trying to keep you safe. It's not a bad thing. It's just actually not going to help us grow. But this week my growth has been to sit with the feelings of hopelessness, sit with the feelings of, at some points I would say, despair, and sit with the feelings of just not knowing what to do. And I had a coaching call this week, and and my coach told me, under no circumstances am I allowed to sit and try and figure stuff out. You know, if I really do want this magical, want to kind of move forward with this magical life, then I have to learn to surrender, and surrendering is really important. Is important to let the miracles come in, because if our ego is trying to control everything all the time, then there's no space for the miracles to really happen, because we're always figuring them out. And if we're always managing to figure out what's going off in our lives, then we're just reliving the past, because our future is created by past experiences. Our ego makes decisions based on past experiences to keep us safe. So what have I done to, I guess, get through the week, and get through the week, still smiling. I've actually had a pretty amazing week. I had a day at Soho Farmhouse in the 40-degree weather. Me and my friend had a swim, and that was amazing. An incredible coaching call. I've learned a lot about myself. So what have I done to kind of So I think there were probably 3 days this week where I really spent just facing this despair feeling. So I've woken up every morning with low energy and not smiling, and no amount of meditation could change that. Even my meditation practice, that I normally sit for an hour every morning, and in that hour I can really experience wonderful things, but that's not been the case this week. In fact, it's been really, really difficult for me to even just sit. So whilst I have managed to sit, it's not been the most comfortable experience, and meditation isn't always going to be comfortable. It isn't always going to be sunshine, rainbows, and floating on clouds. Sometimes you've got to face some dark stuff. I don't know if you've seen Eat, Pray, Love. It's one of my favourite films, and in it, when she goes to the ashram, the guy says to her, "Wow, you're facing some dark stuff," or something along those lines, because she basically sat there with her face scrunched up throughout however long they were sat there, and I think that's basically what I've done all week in my meditations. So I've had to really be compassionate with myself, and realise that it's okay that not everything's going to be perfect all the time. I posted about this on Instagram the week before, because that's what I was facing. I was facing this imperfection, and I created this wonderful painting, and it wasn't perfect, and I was actually really okay with it not being perfect, because it's art. And I guess but then there are other situations in my life where I don't like it if it's not perfect. I really struggle with that, and perfection is something I think a lot of us strive for, when really, again, as humans, it's just a bit of an imperfect mess, our life. And there is beauty in that. There's beauty in imperfection, and I think it's something that can really be enjoyed if you again let go and don't necessarily listen to the egoic chatter in your mind. Now, so I was saying I've spent like probably 3 days this week where I haven't been able to preoccupy myself. I've not been able to distract myself with work. So for the last few years, I've always managed to avoid these feelings because I've been so busy with work. And being busy with work is a great excuse to not feel the feelings. But if we want to heal the feelings that we feel, we really have to truly feel into them. You can't just be busy and distract yourself and hope they go away, because they don't go away. And in fact, they can manifest into something like in your physical body. So to deal with this hopelessness, that's what I've had to do. I've had to really sit with it. So I've given myself time lying on the sofa, crying. I've cried a bit. I've slept. So gone into a bit of a trance on the sofa, which has then resulted in me falling asleep, even if only for like 20 minutes. And in that, I actually felt like I shifted something one day in particular. Every time I speak to my coach, I generally I say to him, "Oh, I've been in bed all afternoon because I'm going through some stuff and I've not had a great day." But you know, he actually applauds that because if we're feeling the feelings, it means that we're purging something and something's coming up, and we're able to face it. Now, what is also brought to light for me is how I use things, and I've done another podcast on this, of how I use things to numb the pain, like I would with work. But I've also used, in the past, shopping has been a huge thing for me to numb the pain of what I'm going through. So I'll kind of treat myself and splurge on ASOS, or convince myself I need something when I don't really, probably, even though it's nice to have, and then I end up decluttering everything. And food's been a huge one for me this week. I've noticed I've had blueberry muffins for breakfast. I've had blueberry muffins. I've had a whole pot of frozen strawberry kefir, which I disguised as, oh, this is healthy because it's kefir, not ice cream. Only 62 calories per serving, but it's still full of sugar. But on the flip side of that, I'm very aware of what I knew exactly what I was doing within this. I knew that I was eating to kind of feel better. Eating, shopping isn't going to make you feel better. Yes, it might give that initial dopamine hit, but actually it's not going to help heal in the long run. But I've been aware of that, and I'm actually, because I'm aware of that, I can either change it, or I can just be compassionate towards myself and go, do you know what? I know very well I'm going to eat this whole tub of iced or frozen yogurt, and it's going to be delicious and I'm going to enjoy every mouthful, rather than eating it and completely beating myself up about it. Because that is, anything eaten in fear or from a place of anything that's basically not love, guilt, shame. If you're going to shame yourself for something, you are making the whole thing 10 times worse, and that your body feels that energy. Your body will feel, if you're shaming yourself whilst you're eating this whole tub of ice cream, your body will feel that. So I knew not to shame myself, and now I'm just kind of laughing at it. I knew what I was doing. I've done this in quite a few circumstances where I knew exactly what I was doing. I knew exactly the pain it would cause me after, and I've still done it, and I've just let myself enjoy doing it. So yeah, so there's been a lot of sitting with it, been a lot of compassion, been a lot of love for myself, and a lot of crying. And today I felt something shift. I've woken up this morning again not feeling too great. I've got some big decisions I'm making, and some really incredible stuff I am so passionate about, along with my coaching. I'm about to design a workshop that I'm going to lead. But with my coaching and with my jewellery company as well, I'm doing some really amazing things, and I'm so excited about it. And I think, like I said, I've not had a huge amount to do, which has given me a lot more space to think and feel. And I actually feel like a lot of this stuff needs to come up before I am in a position to move forward with a lot of this. Otherwise, it won't be built on the strongest foundations of me, like, being in the place that I need to be. So if I'm building it from a place of holding emotion in, like holding on to emotion, not letting this go, especially after the year I've had, like last year I was having my eggs frozen in preparation for my first chemotherapy, and my first chemotherapy was next Thursday last year, and it's just, that's fucking bizarre. Like, it's absolutely bizarre to think that. And so I did wonder if some of this, again, I'm trying to figure it out, but I wondered if some of this feeling was the trauma from last year coming to the surface, and is it stuff, inner child stuff? Is it the fact that, our inner child's, the plural of child is not child's, or like, we all have an inner child within us. It's the little person that we were when we were 5 years old. And that little person is the one trying to keep us safe. And that little person, she's not the ego, but she feels she has to support us. Can you imagine a 5-year-old trying to support an adult? But this is how this is the past experiences that are now controlling my present and my future. Speaking of the present moment is where we can truly heal. So when we can sit and be present with our emotions, with our feelings, then, which is what I've tried my damned hardest to do this week, is sit and be present with my emotions and feelings, my sadness, my hopelessness, and it's been fucking painful. But sit and be present with it and not distract myself from it, and not distract myself with the shopping, with the work, with the addictions that we have, that they're disguised addictions. We don't realise they're addictions, but if I could this week not buy into my addictions, not distract myself, and just let myself be present with the emotion and feel, that is actually what's going to heal. I don't know if you've ever really felt into a feeling and you've just been caught completely off guard and you've sobbed and you've cried. That's you releasing. I was told as a little girl, crying's not going to get you anywhere. Actually, crying will get you everywhere. Not in a tantrum way, but crying is what will help you release the pain. It's what will help you release the trauma. And I use the word trauma as a kind of collective. We all collectively have trauma. We've all experienced shit. To being left out in the playground, to being called names, to like different types of trauma, sexual trauma, child abuse, neglect. Like, our range of trauma varies, but we all experience trauma, and it's all relative. So we all have pain that we need to address, we all have pain that we need to release, and I'd really like to encourage you to, next time you feel pain, let's not distract ourselves, let's not put a smile on our face and try and figure it out. I'm a big believer in mental health sick days, and having a sick day to just look after yourself mentally. Oh, we have a little wasp. Look after yourself mentally and emotionally, like an emotional sick day, rather than not just like the physical sick days. If you can give yourself space for an emotional sick day where you just lie on the sofa, maybe you go and lie in nature, maybe you go sit in nature and record a podcast and realise that you're not actually really alone. Or maybe you go and have a swim, maybe you go do some yoga, maybe you do what your soul needs you to do on that day, and you will help prevent the physical sick days that might come later on if you ignore all of this stuff. But wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, be present with yourself and your feelings, and just give yourself like the hugest amounts of love, no matter what that feeling is. And I think when we can give ourselves the space to really feel the feelings, you don't have to reply to all the texts you get. You don't have to, as long as I think kind of we all have responsibilities. Take care of your responsibilities, but the biggest responsibility is yourself. Your biggest responsibility is you, and you're living this life for you. You're not living it for anybody else. So, kind of, please bear that in mind when the feels come up, when the emotions come up. Please give yourself a space to deal with it. If you feel hopelessness, if you feel despair, if you feel sadness and a depression, then just let yourself feel that. And if you really feel into it without trying to distract yourself and without buying into the addictions that we all have, social media, chocolate, alcohol, smoking, drugs, whatever, it doesn't have to be an addiction of class A drugs. It could just be an addiction of sitting on Instagram. Either way, they're probably both going to cause you some amount of pain, but it distracts you from the pain that you're actually feeling. So don't be afraid of the pain you're actually feeling. If you can really feel into it, it will dissolve. If you cry it out, that's it, gone forever. Yes, there's going to be more. Yes, there's going to be different amounts of pain. There's going to be different, it could be a fleeting 2-minute thing in an afternoon. It could be a 2-week thing. It could be a 2-year thing. But whatever you do, go through it and give yourself love throughout. It's just part of this journey that we're on as humans. We don't, like I said at the beginning, we don't get to transcend just yet. We have to do this kind of human life before we this human life is like our trial. It's a school of life. It's life university, whatever you want to call it. It is this experience, this roller coaster ride that we're all on, and we're not getting off. There is a real magical life available to us, and it is one of joy and miracles and love and things that you wouldn't even imagine, like true magic. But you have to take the in order to truly feel the magic, you also have to really feel the shit, and you have to heal the shit. And the shit will heal in its own time. It will heal more wholly if you allow yourself to feel it and allow yourself to go through it. And another nice thing to remember is that you create this reality. Nobody else. You're not living for anybody else. You create this reality. You do this for you. And that's something, again, that stayed with me this week, is that yes, I'm feeling this pain. I know this pain won't be here forever, but I create this reality. I'm in charge of how I want to feel. I can go and distract myself and face it another day, or I can just feel into it this week, and that's what I've done. Yes, there has been some chocolate consumed, but I've given myself compassion. I've not shamed myself, and actually, so this has been a 5-day long thing, and this morning what I've done is I have been to yoga. I feel like I'm ready to come out of it now, so I've been to yoga. It's the kind of sweaty yoga gear. You didn't really need to know it was sweaty, but I've been to yoga, and I set the intention that I'm going to release any stuck energy from this week, and I feel incredible now. I feel calm, I feel at peace, I feel brave enough to record this in the middle of Parsons Green, and I feel I feel rejuvenated. I feel like I can go and make those decisions, and I can go and create some magic, and I feel inspired, and that is, that's kind of where I always want to be, but I appreciate that I can't always be there, because the best artists are inspired by their pain, aren't they? And some of the most beautiful magic is created through pain. One of my friends, Anuska, is this incredible songwriter, this incredible singer, and her music is created, unfortunately, from a lot of pain. The pain of her losing both of her parents, the pain of previous relationships, the pain of losing a beloved animal in her life, but from that, the most beautiful music, powerful, moving music, and that's and that's the magic that life is. is this kind of beauty. We're not in this world to suffer. We're not, but we can transmute the suffering into love, and the way we do that is by feeling through it and by giving ourselves compassion. Treat yourself as you would treat a 5-year-old little girl or little boy, and give yourself the compassion and the love that you would give them. And that's a really great way to kind of feel your way through the emotions and come out of them with a smile on your face. I wanted to share something else, but I can't really remember what it was. I was so in the zone. So I will leave you there, because I get some funny looks now. But one thing I did want to say is I am going to be hosting a webinar towards the end of next week. Keep an eye on my Instagram, because this is more of a workshop, probably more of a workshop about changing your reality and reclaiming your power, and how you can put into practice some of the stuff that I talk about on this podcast, on the Design Your Legacy podcast, on my Instagram. You know, I'm generally a happy, smiling fairy, or so I like to think, and I experience real magic in my life, and I'd really like to help you experience real magic too. You know, we don't have to live in this place of fear. We really, really, really can live in this place of love. Be that love for ourselves, love for others, love for the world, love for nature, love for whatever we want to create in our lives. It's all going to come from a place of love, and I would like to help guide you there. So if you're interested and would like to know more, keep an eye on my Instagram. You can DM me and ask me any questions, and then I'll probably host an in-person one as well, maybe before the end of August. It will be in London, but just keep an eye on my Instagram for that as well. If you're interested in knowing more about the ways in which we numb our pain and the addictions that we kind of have to numb pain, I know that some of my listeners found that really, really helpful. So if you click on the link wherever it is, that's the podcast on numbing pain, and I got a lot of really good feedback about that one. Anyway, I'll leave you there. I'm going to go and enjoy my coffee in the sunshine and get cracking with this inspiration that I now feel. And what better place to create from than from inspiration? Off the back of a really shit week, but I'm really proud of myself for how I've coped with it, and for how I have just let myself feel, and let myself love, and let myself cry if I needed to, and just be. So anyway, from my heart to yours, I hope you have an incredible